Let's go, bro.
3 shots, 4 par, I just do 2. 1 putt, par 4, birdie, woo-hoo. New driver, info, replace, M2, par 5, fairway, what you fin do? Think I'll try to get on into, start right, good line, good view, it drew.
It's like 1:30 in the morning, and we're headed 550 miles, approximately, to the Pine Barrens.
Shooter McGavin, 2 thumbs that's up high and 2 fingers pointed at you, pew pew. Fairway to green, conk off that I'm playing. Sometimes these par 3 green look like an island, I'm playing to keep it.
Great little
so good to be
video,
recording.
just the Jake shuffle.
Can you shuffle back?
Just-
one
yeah.
Dude,
more
that was
time?
comically just boop.
There you
Is
go.
my-
That's
I'm- I'm
perfect
on
right
a-
there. Okay, we got you. All right, we got
I'm on
you.
like a shop stool that's like a pogo stick.
All right, I think we're okay.
Those are good. I love sitting on those.
We'll get. I think we're good. You can only see like this much. I'm sitting so funny right now, but if I'm sitting like this, but it's comfortable. All right. We're episode 207, I think. 207, 208.
Holy.
Holy. It sounds like
a
more and
lot.
more every time. It is. Numbers go up.
lot.
It's
It's extremely impressive though.
it's interesting how that happens. The longevity of us is unbelievable. The quality of
extremely
guest is peaking today during our chat.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Is that
Jake.
it? Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you so
some
much.
would
I don't know
argue,
that-
but yeah, that's it.
I don't know that. Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like there's an argument to be made for other people, but I'll take it.
I'm just
Hey.
kidding.
Hey, we're here. We say that to every guest before, whether we're recording or not. But I've
Well,
got
now I don't feel all that special.
yeah. I'm
Thanks for nothing.
I'm fighting the man cold here. So if I take off at any point, boys, you guys just keep going here. It's got a hold of me. It's
I
tough.
just got over mine.
It's
yeah.
tough. But what's up, Jake? How's things, man?
Not too bad, guys. Excited to talk to you again. I texted Mac the other day and I was like, "Hey, we should run back a pod because we just
It's
haven't chatted in a
time.
while."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, why not?
No.
No, things are good. Things are just extremely, extremely, extremely busy, which I'll never complain about.
So you've a few things since we've last spoken. I think you actually launched your podcast since we spoke on this platform. I don't think you had released your first episode with Sean yet. Once we
No, you were. I'm pretty sure you're talking about it, and you didn't release it yet, but like it was like getting edited or in the works.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think you're right. Wow,
yeah,
that's kind of crazy. Actually,
it's been a while. So you've got 8 episodes now.
Dang. There are. Yeah, there's 8. 8 of them are live right now. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
There was a 9th in the hopper, but it is with somebody who no longer works at the place that I did the interview at, because I didn't edit it in time. So
Mhm.
we lost
Gotta go-
one.
Does that just gotta go to the can then? Not even usable?
Yeah, as a full pod, not so much, but the actual person I could probably do some clips with. Like I might just take some clips out of it and use it for
There you go.
social.
Right.
But the full pod, yeah. I mean, like the majority of the conversation was about the company, not about like the person in that one. So kind of tough. I don't necessarily like they didn't ask me to scrap it or anything. Like there was no worries. It was just kind of for me. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I'd rather like just relink back with somebody that is there and talk about it again.
Yeah, maybe a little less relevant than you wanted it to be. I know.
Yeah.
Your pods are pretty good quality. We're I'm not saying that ours aren't, but like we've been I'd say that we probably have 200, maybe 195 like virtual ones and 15 or so live ones, right? So it's a production, man. Bryce saw it firsthand. We did the orbital one and stuff. It was great, man. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
when
you gotta
live
come
is
down
tough.
for that next time, Jay. That'd be a good
I
group.
will. It was just bad timing because I was gone.
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's like the live thing. I mean, Mac, you and I have talked about this a couple times, but the live thing's tough. I mean, especially like I originally committed to doing mine all live, which I'm not upset that I did, but I have missed out on a couple of chats because I told the people like, no, like I want these to all be in person. So some of that's
Right.
gonna happen next year, but like it's been cool. I think Sean leading it off for me was really, really, really cool. Like that's for the people that are in golf the way I'm in golf. Like that's a hell of a first get.
Yeah.
And Sean's an amazing human being. The whole family is. I love all of them. But since then, like the guy that was part of the original team that created Diamana, Jose, who was part of the team that created Spider and was one of the two guys that came up with the idea of the white driver originally. Don Brown, who's been responsible for all the hazardous product for like 25 years. Like, there's just really cool stuff. Georgia, who's at True Temper, and she's like probably the best at her job in the golf industry at the moment, as a social media like handler, manager, whatever the title ends up being. Yeah, really cool stuff. Hopefully doing a couple more this year. Like I've got, again, it's all just, can I get to the person really? Honestly, it's like I have like there's two different people at TaylorMade that I want to do one with. There's another guy at Odyssey. Like I already did Joe Toulon. There's another guy at Odyssey, and then there's another Callaway person. There's the Caitlin Farley, who's the I don't know her actual title, but I'm gonna call her the director of irons development at Cobra. Like I'm gonna do one with her. We already talked about it. So yeah, it's like I found a little niche of people that I could talk to, basically, which is cool because it stays kind of on theme for the most part.
So Jake, anybody who wants to check out your pod, I'm going to link it like in the show notes. Anybody who's listening right now, but can you give us kind of just a synopsis? Anybody who isn't familiar with you, what Made for the Range is, and then maybe subsequently what the podcast is specifically, or what you typically cover.
Yeah, so Made for the Range was originally created as a platform to help educate people about their equipment. That's the basis of it. And I'm going to try really, really strongly to get back to that being the primary type of content. It has started to branch off. Like there's been some product stuff. Golf Tech is a partner of mine, and I've loved doing some golf tech deep dives from like a coaching standpoint, not with me giving the advice because that would be terrible, but me receiving the advice. And then YouTube has started to get a little bit more consistent, and YouTube is where we're gonna do a migration of a lot of the product driven stuff like club reviews, club testing, going to do different fittings at places. That's all gonna live on YouTube with like nods to social, and then social is going to shift to like really, really, really strong majority just being strictly that educational stuff that we kind of founded the basis on. And then the podcast is mostly to talk about the people behind the products. So, there's like Sean Toulon is a great example. He was my first guest, and Sean has his name on probably more than one product that I think every single person has played at one point or time. Like the Spider is a big one. TaylorMade 300 series. Technically, Sean was in charge of the team that started the M series originally too. He wasn't there. He wasn't at TaylorMade still when it launched, but and then obviously he has all the stuff he did at Odyssey. He was responsible for all the Callaway woods too, like all the tour stuff that got really saucy and pretty much everything that happened there for the better part of a decade. And then, I've done stuff with Jose from Cobra, which I don't think people understand Jose's actual background and like the just crazy world that Jose has lived and like how nerdy he gets about certain things. Did a bunch with Shaft guys. Yeah, so it's all these people that like, their daily job is to, right now they're trying to figure out who's going to have the best driver in 2027, right? Like,
right.
Those are the guys that are doing that right now, and it's a wild way to think, right? Like
that's nuts.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, they're already trying to decide like who's going to have the best materials, who's going to have the best, design aesthetic, aerodynamics, like all that stuff for literally like 2026, 2027 is being talked about right now with those people. So to get inside their brains a little bit has been really, really fun. It's a very niche kind of thing, but the people that listen to it and the people that follow along with it have really, really enjoyed it. So it's been fun.
But yeah, I think that's exactly kind of what you're shooting for is that I know they're not probably giving away a bunch about 2027 drivers because they obviously probably can't talk too much about it, but just kind of the insights to kind of how it starts and how the process of it and that side of the game that people don't usually talk too much about because people don't have that much knowledge on it, right? But I'm glad that you're kind of getting into that because it kind of opens that whole side up to like the gearheads like me and other people who enjoy
Yeah.
equipment and know about it, know a little bit about equipment. Like there's, I feel like with equipment you'll never know everything. Like there's always something you won't know, whether you're
Yeah.
this high up
Yeah,
in the
and
game or this high up. You know, it's like
yeah, and selfishly, honestly, like it was a way for me to have that conversation with those people, like at all, right? Like
yeah.
it was a benefit that we're gonna film it and use content for it and provide some sort of brand awareness for that
But you're
company
also
and that
learning
person.
yourself.
Yeah, like for me, it's just selfishly, it's just like, well, I just want to talk to you. Like
Yeah.
I don't really care if we film it or not. It just provides us a benefit to film it, so that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. That's been really fun. Like I'm really good friends with the 2 on family now. Like I chat with Jose every now and then. Johnny Wonder and I keep in contact after that podcast, and he's helped me out with some Callaway stuff. Like there, the connections that are being made through that little thing, just because I don't think those people get enough credit. So like, again, selfishly, offering to have that conversation and put them in that spotlight has been a good thing for each party involved. Essentially,
Sorry,
it's been
Mac.
really, really
I'm
fun.
gonna jump in again here, but it's also good though. Like it's selfish, or a little selfishly you say that, but I feel like it makes it that much better because you're genuine about it and like you care about it and you like
Yeah.
you want to be there, kind of thing. Like it's not just you're sitting down talking to this big name and a big company. It's like you want to sit there and pick their brain
Yeah.
and get the information. Like it's not you're not just faking it, you know. Like that's why I think
Oh yeah,
it's
I'm a
awesome.
little kid excited to talk to these people every
Yeah,
single time. Like
exactly.
those are my celebrities, Like those are the people that I'm jonesing to talk to when I get a chance.
I like that. That's a good way of putting it. Do you have a Toronto tour coming up? We got a couple spots up here. We got Club Champion,
Yeah,
Media.
so
We got Accra.
it's it's funny because like so Gavin Robertson from Accra has told me yes previously. Like I just have to get there. Mikey and potentially Ian, probably Mikey for sure. But if Ian can hop on too, that'd be awesome. If I got up there and it was at the right time, I'd probably do another one with Johnny. But if I'm also going to be in that area, like, Ryan Barath and I want to do one together.
Oh yeah, I met him
fun.
I met him like a month ago.
Barath?
I didn't realize that he lived in this area. Yeah, he's he's by Copetown, Bryce.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's right by Coton Woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Ryan Barath and I over this year, like Ryan Barath has become one of my favorite human beings, just period.
He's a
Like, him and
wicked
I talk-
golf brain too, isn't he?
Dude,
Like,
it's
brain.
that is a golf brain that I don't think has even fully been tapped, honestly.
Mm.
Like it is wild. The way he talks about clubs and like the mechanics of a golf club is it's wild. Like it's a different niche, and that's like him and I have talked about this before. And it's the same thing with Brian Knudsen from WRX. Like the three of us chat either together or like within ourselves all the time. And I've said this before, but like it was a really, really, really helpful thing for me that those two guys didn't see me doing what I wanted to do and like try to fight it or try to like push me out or anything, because they're kind of the only two guys that are doing this from an equipment standpoint. John Wall too, like from golf.com, he used to do that podcast with Ryan and Chris McCormick from TrueSpec, the fully equipped thing. But it's like that's kind of it. And instead of like fighting it or pushing back or whatever you want to call it, like both of those guys right away. Ryan Barath was the first one to share Made for the Range. Like he was the first like of any sort of notoriety person to share Made for the Range and like tell people to go follow and stuff like that. And I'll never forget that. Yeah, it's been extremely fun with those two. Like we all do kind of the same thing, but I think what's really unique with the three of us is we do the same thing, but we talk to three different people basically. Like Ryan can get really in the weeds sometimes, and his audience loves that. Where like I think if I got too into the weeds, I would lose a lot of people that are following me because I still get tons of the DMs of like just started golfing or never been fit or don't understand this or like I'll give them this tip and then I get a message a week later and they're like, hey man, that worked. Like here's this now. Like this, like that's my favorite thing to do is answer those messages. But some of the questions that Ryan gets on his like Q&As and stuff, I'll message him and be like, I wouldn't have even known how to answer that question. Like I would have just tagged Ryan and been like, this is his problem.
Yeah.
No, so it's been fun. Those two guys are like just real beauties of human beings, and the three of us are planning to do a bunch of stuff. Ryan's in his new role at Scratch now, which is really sick because Ryan's brain now has a production staff behind it, and I am just freaking so excited to see what comes out of that because like you got to think Scratch is the one that originally developed the Eric Anders Lang stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take that level of production quality and then but the information being provided in the video is Ryan's brain. Oh, like we're in for some really, really cool content coming out of Scratch soon, I think. Like that's gonna be really cool.
I was actually going to ask you that, Jake, if you had any insight on that, because I know that was almost a month ago now that he mentioned that D-Rap is going to Scratch. Like, obviously, they're kind of maybe changing, not changing lanes, but maybe developing some things, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of trying to target different audiences, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Honestly, I think they're just doubling down, really. Like, I know
like our stuff's good, but wait till this is gonna be even better.
Yeah, I think they just had a talent problem, right? Like Anders Lang is not the equipment guy, and he's also not a tour guy. He is a lifestyle, golf experience, community, camaraderie kind of person. Where now with D-Rap, they have a guy who's been on tour forever, who has really strong tour connections, who's now going to be able to use his tour presence in media, which he wasn't allowed to do before. Like him, love him, or hate him, that's a really good pickup for Scratch. And then you have Barath, who now has resources available at his disposal to just make his brain and like the information that he has capable be shown in such a cool way that I'm really excited to see what they do. I think that Scratch before was like they were either trying to be super overproduced or they were trying to be funny, right? Like there was not a whole lot of stuff in between, and it was kind of weird because you would have Adventures in Golf with Eric Anders Lang, but then there was like a meme video posted on their Instagram, and it was like, well, like wait, which one are we doing here? So I haven't talked to Ryan about the Scratch thing too much, other than the fact that he's excited to have a production company behind him, or a production staff, I guess. I know it was also a promotion for Ryan, so like that was the move from golf.com was, he went from an editor to like the guy who's in charge of the editors for equipment.
It's hard not to do that too.
Yeah, I don't know what those titles are, but yeah, I mean it's gonna be cool. I'm not a huge D-Rap guy. I don't really have anything against him. He's not my favorite tour insider, but I think that Scratch made a good pickup. I mean, people listen to him, again, like him.
Yeah, and they already have a platform, right? Like I said earlier, like they already created a lot of good content, like back in the day, and they still have a huge following. I'm sure. I'm not too deep into it, but I mean, like you said, they're kind of doubling down. They're making their good stuff, or trying to make it even better. So I guess we'll see what comes out of it. It's probably I'm sure it'll be good with Barath there. Like you said, he's one of the best golf brains in the league. So I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be super cool. I'm excited. I'm happy for Ryan too. Like I know him and I have talked about it. He's super happy. He's trying to pump out as much content as he can, which is hilarious. Like that picture he shared the other day, he had his camera roll up and he was like, "Make videos." They said it would be fun. They said he has like
it's all
50
videos.
takes on something. Yeah, he has like 50 takes of one video, which I feel that I could go through my computer here right now and show you the 20 takes that it just took me to make a 60-second video.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's cool stuff. But like real quick, can we just pivot? So I talked to you about it before we recorded, but like you're also a dad now, which is sick.
I am, yeah. That's exciting.
So did you get like the Ping first putter and like a cool wedge? Like did you get a Charlie Toddler bag? Like what?
No, I haven't.
What are we doing?
Hold on, it's right here. Let me.
All right.
I haven't done anything crazy yet. I don't know if I will yet because we're still trying to build a house, so we're still trying not to spend money in weird places. But so shout out Tyler at Orbital. He actually made me one of his little valuables pouches.
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
he's got my daughter's name here on the bottom.
That's
So,
sweet.
and then it's also got the course that I got married at, which happens
Nice.
to be his home course. So it's
Huh.
pretty cool little thing he gave me there. So that's the only thing I've got. So, but
We gotta talk to the guy from Charlie Golf Company and get you one of those little pink canvas bags.
those are cool.
Yeah.
Eh? We talked about them the other. Was it with you last time? It probably was with you last time. I don't know. We
Maybe.
talked to one of our guests about it, and we were going. Who were we talking to about the little youth Charlie golf bags, the little tiny leather ones?
Oh yeah.
We were talking to. Was it Tyler Golf Bags we were talking to about it?
Damn, that's
I'm not sure, but yeah, those things are really cool.
they're sweet,
They're
man.
sweet, yeah. I have one. I bought one of the bags and one of the sets of kids clubs for my niece.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's still sitting in the box actually. I haven't taken it out, but I have one.
I want to get one for the little guy. They sell out so fast, though.
They're like the genuine leather, and they look like the stitch bags, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like a Mackenzie bag. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. I've chatted with them a
Over.
couple times. I actually asked them about coming on, but that was like when they got that huge. I don't know. They had like 800 orders to fulfill or something like that, which is wild. But like
Yeah.
right before the Masters, so I should loop back and I'll probably get them right before the Masters again.
hmm
Sorry,
They're all
boys.
in stock right now, big guy.
I know. I should go on and get one.
Oh my gosh, he has like so many colors now too.
There's a decent price tag on them, isn't there?
No, it's like 88 bucks. Yeah, it's 88 bucks.
Oh, I thought there were more than that.
No.
That's
What's
pretty
the
good.
website?
Charlie Golf?
CharlieGolfCo.com.
Yeah, Charlie Golf Co.
Yeah, there's navy, pink, green, gray, like a fuchsia looking thing, and then the red one and the black one are sold out.
Yeah,
That's
these
cool,
are
though.
so cool.
So Jake,
haven't been on there
how's
forever.
don't mean to switch the subject, but how's things going with the
Okay.
website? So the website's kind of like that was like your main piece that you were developing. How are things going with that?
It's stalled.
Okay.
It's okay. Like, you know, it exists is really the kicker right now, I guess. It does a decent job generating its own traffic, which is kind of cool. Like it's super organic. I get a lot of traffic from search terms about golf shafts. That
Mhm.
seems to be the number one like director to the site. It is cool because a lot of I still haven't done really anything to like direct people to this site. I think we talked about this last time, but like I just haven't had time. Honestly, I'm not even gonna say it. Like I was gonna say I was being a little lazy about it, but that's not even true. Like I just don't have time. I mean, it's to run the website the way I want the website to run is gonna take some pretty significant additional effort. I am working on the product side of the website, which has been I think I've said that for the last year. Anytime somebody asks me, but that will be cool. That will go hand in hand with the YouTube strategy moving forward. Because, like I said earlier, the YouTube strategy is going to be to do more of the product stuff there. I want to try to present product reviews or overviews or whatever you want to call it in a fitting capacity whenever I can. Like, so, you know, if I'm covering the new TaylorMade stuff, like whatever, I want to go like get fit for the TaylorMade stuff and hit each of the products and like show the data and show the differences and then kind of be done with it. It's an interesting thing in the golf space to like try to be an equipment reviewer because you don't realize how much of it there is until it all shows up and you realize that you're 30 days behind on a product post that now is not relevant anymore because it came out a month ago.
You're posting your last product review, and then the next year stuff's coming out.
Correct. Yeah. So it's like, and then the thing that sucks too is, you know, if you want to be the person who's really good at it and you want to get any engagement on that content, you have to post it when the stuff launches. Like you don't,
for sure.
there is no not posting it when it launches. And it's like, okay, so, you know, basically from January 8th to February 13th, like kiss all your other content goodbye, right? Like it's just your other content basically doesn't exist at that point. So to still do it, but maintain the amount of educational stuff that I want to post, that's why I kind of decided that I think I'm going to start diverging those two things so that YouTube sees a lot of that product stuff, but some of that product stuff, other than like a story to link somebody to the YouTube video, may not exist in social form, like on Instagram, for example. Um, but it will exist on the website in like a long form, in depth thing about that product, which I'm really excited for. I mean, I shared a driver review with Mac like
Yeah, I remember that.
a very long time ago. And that's still what I want the structure to be. I mean, it was a single driver head, and I think it was a 4-page Google Doc. Like,
Well, I think those will kind of drive one another, right? So you're gonna
yeah,
get
for
guys
sure.
like Bryce who are gonna check out a video. They're gonna grab the piece of that video and then they're gonna click the link in the show notes or in the description so they can find out more about what you're talking about in greater detail, right? I think
Yeah,
the video will always be more um it'll always capture more eyes. Like it's just how it is. Content will always be
yeah, that's
captured
just that's how it works.
through
Yeah.
video over text for sure. But if I think those two things will kind of like work hand in hand, really. Do you have access to how early can you get access to products before they launch, or is that possible at all?
It depends on the brand.
Okay.
There's like I I'll probably have the 2025 Cobra product, let's say. I'll probably have that product sometime around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Um, like Mizuno. Mizuno's been one where like I had the Mizuno JPX stuff about 2 weeks before it came out, so that I could have content ready. And that was one of my YouTube videos that did really good, right? Like it was just a simple first impressions on the range, but that was a YouTube video that actually did fairly well for my current audience size, and it was because I was able to post it that day, and that's the difference, right? Like, but something like Titleist GT, there was no chance I was getting my hands on that early. Or the Ping stuff that's going to come out next year, the Strixon stuff that's been leaked, like the new ZX stuff. So it just depends on the brand. Depends on who I have a relationship there with. Like it's it's easy when it's accessible, and it's like zero chance when it's not. Like there is no in between, if that makes sense. Like there's no
Right.
gray area for getting product. Like it's either like yes, you get it and you're gonna have it a month early, or no, you don't get it and you're probably never gonna get it unless you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people understand too how much money I still spend on golf stuff. Like because if I start to get enough questions about something and I reach out and I can't get it, like I am just gonna buy it. Like I just did a video on the GT3 today, but I got fit for just our club's demo day with the Titleist guy that came, and I bought the driver. Like I didn't really want to, if I'm being honest, but I bought the driver because I wanted to make stuff about it because people want to see the GT3 content and what it did and that kind of thing. So it's interesting, right? Like it's a big balance, but um, next year will be interesting. I've got some stuff in the works for next year with how certain brand deals are going to be structured. And like this year, Adele is sponsoring the putter section, so every time I post a putter educational topic, it's always using Adele equipment, and it's always got a BGT shaft on it too, because they kind of co-sponsored the putter section. And then Mizuno has been really kind lately, and the iron stuff has been like semi-sponsored by Mizuno for the last probably month or so, you could say, and will be throughout the end of this year, and then hopefully moving into next year that'll be more concrete. But yeah, I mean
So I guess
grinding it
when
out.
you say it's sponsored by a company, the idea though of what you want to create is a platform where you're giving your listeners or your viewers like engaging content about all manufacturers that you can possibly get your hands on though, right?
Yeah, that's kind of actually been that's been the question lately that I've
Right.
like asked myself, and I've asked some mentors and stuff of like, how much does my platform revolve around having the new product versus can my platform exist in its full capability without having the new product? And
Mm-hmm.
what's funny is the answer is actually that I don't need the new product to do what I want to do. Um, with the help of some partners. So, for example, like I don't need everybody's new putters to talk about all those putter topics because Adele sponsored that section. So I know for a fact that I will have whatever putter I need to talk about that topic for the rest of the year, right? Like every single one of those topics is covered. Like there is a putter for that topic, no question asked. That being said, I think with what I do, people want me to have the new product and they want to ask me about it and they want my opinion on it. They want me to test it. But the beauty of that really is like that's where Golf Tech has stepped in pretty big for me, where like I just did an iron fitting. I think I posted that YouTube video last week, and I said it in the YouTube video like 5 times. I pretty much went in there wanting the TaylorMade P7 CVs, but I wanted to test other things that I hadn't gotten a chance to test because they weren't sent to me. And that was like literally my first time testing those things. And I just hopped into Golf Tech and did the content that way. And they've kind of opened up their doors for me as a partner of like, when stuff comes out, yes, it'll be kind of after the fact, but I can go into Golf Tech bays and just like play around and tinker with the new stuff and get a feel for it and do reviews in there. And I've been into headquarters a couple times. And when we do headquarters trips, a lot of times they have the clubs early to make their content about it. And I've started kind of jumping in on some of that stuff and being the like equipment person for new clubs with Golf Tech. So there's crossover there, which is nice. But yeah, that's actually been like a big question that I've had to ask myself lately of like how much strategy do I need to put into securing all the new releases versus like should I just kind of ignore that and just really hardcore focus on this other half of things, basically?
Well, the reason why I asked that question specifically is you just talked about the Titleist driver and how interested you were in that product and how much you wanted to like kind of dive into it, really, right? So I think everybody likes shiny, everybody likes new. That's probably, we're pretty good friends now, Jake. That's probably not something you want to hear me saying, but I think everybody kind of likes that, right? And I know when your stuff pops up and you're reviewing something that's new to me, like I definitely want to check it out. If it's maybe like something older, not necessarily on your channel, but it might not be something that I click on, right? So I think it all kind of depends, like you say, what people are looking for and what kind of avenue you want to go down. Because I understand like the editing that has to go into all those things. Like I've said it to you before. I'm not just saying it because you're a friend of mine, but your editing is like some of the best in the industry. So again, if anybody wants to go check it out, the link is in the show notes below. But like, I think finding that balance is important. Would you say?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, for sure. I mean,
can I jump in here real quick, Jake? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
Back on to Mac's point about kind of shiny and new. That's I can kind of give you the reverse point because like maybe a lot of people think like that, but someone like me would like if he's talking about a shaft that's 10 years old, if I have that shaft and I want to learn more about it, if I still play that shaft and want more, like I gotta go. I'm not going for shiny new. I'm going for the information, and that's where you, Jake, you come in more than the new shiny equipment. Like I'd rather listen to you talk about this than the brand new stuff. You know what I mean? Like so, I guess you can kind of it's kind of hit or miss with who's watching and who your audience is because you can hit both sides of that topic, right? So
yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake. I don't mean to kind of jump in here too, but I think of like guys like our friends, Cousin Clubs and stuff like that, like that are going like, way back, or he's reviewing some like Adam stuffs or the TaylorMade the 300 series and stuff like that, right? And there is definitely a market for those things, like Vans, like looking at like Hickory clubs and stuff like that.
Just how common is it? I guess
so I guess those shiny and new topics are covered with the millions and millions of dollars that TaylorMade or Titleist put into the the development of those and all of the advertisements that go out. However, people listen to this podcast here because they, for whatever reason, they like Bryce and I. But it's they kind of they like the way that we approach it. They like our niche. They like the people that we speak to. So I think if I'm wanting, I guess this is the point I was trying to make and it didn't really come out, but if I'm wanting to learn something new, I'd rather learn it from you than learn it from, you
Oh, a
know,
big box brand
just a
or
big
big
box
OEM.
brand that's just posting
Sure.
something that I'm not sure if it's real or not. If it's coming from you, I know that you've dived, or you've got into the data. You are going
Yeah.
to give an honest review on it. Not all of it's positive. You're going to give an honest review. You're going to give like all the specs that are included, and I'm going to kind of walk away like knowing that I trust, the information that I got from you. I don't know if that can be said completely across the golf space. I know you and I had a conversation about a driver that's completely new. That's like so different. We don't have to name any names, but it's like completely changed. Nothing. This technology's never been out, and I saw you comment on it. I just kind of chuckled because I think there's a lot of promises in the golf space that things are going to be really different, and it might not be that different, right? So I think having a platform that you can trust is important.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm glad you said what you just said, because to me too, the other thing about like new product content is I how do I say this the right way? I don't really like care, right? New stuff's gonna come out. The chances of that new thing being significantly better than the one that preceded it are low.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to do though is help people understand why that product came out, right? Like whether it
Or
is
why the new features are there.
exactly, right? Like why, like they release this product, it comes out every year. Yes, there's so many people that complain about that, and I always have the argument that like, why do you care, first off, and secondly, like, why not? Let's have new stuff all the time. If your stuff like if your stuff competes with the new stuff, keep your stuff. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, nobody said you have to buy the new thing. But what I like is when companies do something that either that company has never done before, or they're utilizing a new material, which was basically the entire GT lineup like story. Like those drivers to me are not exponentially better than TSR. I actually think the TSR2 is a better driver than the GT2, and the TSR4 is a better driver than the TSR4. But I do think the GT3 beats the TSR3. But none of that matters because that wasn't the point of the launch of the product, right? The point of the launch of the product was they discovered this new material that they used in a specific way that unlocks the next series of drivers for them. But at some point, like you have to release the first version of that thing, right?
Yeah.
TaylorMade Stealth is a perfect example. Did TaylorMade Stealth completely outperform Sim 2? In a lot of people's eyes, it actually was way worse. But has QI10 significantly outpaced Sim 2? Absolutely it has, right? But like at some point there has to be a first generation of the carbon face so that they can make it better going into the future. And you can't do that unless you get it in the hands of all these consumers. Like you just can't. Like there's no amount of robot testing, there's no amount of tour testing, there's no amount of internal testing that can suffice for the feedback, good or bad, that you're going to get from launching a product to the masses. So you might as well do that once a year and try to stay ahead of the game, because again, they're getting feedback this year to make the 2027 product better. Like the feedback that is online right now for QI10, it doesn't mean much for whatever comes out next year. Like they're already so far past that that like that product's coming out the way it's going to come out pretty much regardless, unless something drastically explosive happened to that product. So when I talk about stuff like the other day, I talked about the Cobra stuff, which is still sitting here on my desk, right? Like this driver, this Cobra Dark Speed Max, this is my favorite driver head of this year. I will never play this driver head because it's not built for me. But this is my favorite head of this year, I think, because this has been the most anti-slice, as much as I hate that term. This is the most anti-slice driver that I think was made this year. And it looks beautiful. It looks just like the other two do. It sounds great. And it's not like but it's not revolutionary, right? Like but Cobra did some cool little tweaks to this versus what they had last year. and they improved on something and they made a really good product.
Mhm.
And I like to talk about that. Like, why is that head so successful at doing the task that it was built for? I don't care if it says Cobra on it or TaylorMade or Mizuno. Like, I care about the head and the engineering that went into it to make it do a job. Does it do that job good or not? And does it do that job better than the last thing did? Most of the time, if you look at new equipment that way, the answer is yes, right? It's always an improvement. But then you have to put in the human factor of data and launch conditions and golf ball and all this other stuff. And then things start to get in the weeds. But like, they're still going to release the product. So
Mhm.
instead of complaining about it for some reason, which is a lot of what the internet likes to do, we might as well just like lean into it and figure out why that product was made and try to like try to plot out a little bit of the future vision of that company and their products and like what they're looking to do with that stuff, which is, to me, that's the cool part. But it's also like, I don't know if you guys have seen my, over the last week I've posted about a certain putter company a couple of times, and that's taking on its own little world of interesting DMs that I've gotten, that's for sure.
So, Jake, do you think the average consumer, not do you think, do you get feedback from the average consumer that they are viewing the message that you just gave us, like that they're viewing products the same way, that they're, you know, understanding that this might be like the first iteration of something to come that is, you know, the Stealth 2 QI10, whatever it is next year? Is that something that the average consumer's understanding, or is maybe that why, you know, some customers are getting like upset or giving bad feedback or whatever it may be?
Um, I think my goal is that I'm somehow responsible for the average consumer understanding that as a context, but I also think that there's so much content trying to refute that statement that it's hard to battle. Like, I talk to Ryan Barath about this all the time. It's like how loft jacking is a perfect example of a term that is so widely misused and misunderstood on the internet by 25 handicappers and pit vipers that like I don't know how to. There's no battling it because it's battling somebody who is battling for the sake of battling. Like they're not even worried about the information. They don't care about the stats. They don't care about the data. Like they're just battling because they think that they should yell, and that's the internet. So sometimes it gets hard, but I do have a core group of um, people that is like it's slowly growing that they have sent me those messages of like, I never looked at it this way. I never would have tried that thing because I was told that that thing was for this thing, and that has been really cool. Like I'm very, 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 very careful about giving anybody any sort of like fitting advice over the internet. But when I do, I'm very specific about how I do it, and getting those messages back of like this person that trusted me enough to spend a decent chunk of money on something, and then to get a message a week later that's like, hey, I put that thing in and I was over the moon with how the performance changed the next day. Like I have a lot of those guys now. And that's cool. And it's like, it's a slow progression for sure. But that is like, if I had one battle to say, like, was the purpose of Made for the Range, it would be that battle. It's getting people to understand that your golf club is not a shiny thing of status in any way, shape, or form. Like every single club in your bag is, it has to do a job when it's asked to do that job. And if it doesn't do that job when you need it to, like, let's find something that does. And I don't care what that thing is. I don't care how recently it came out. I don't care if it's a brand I like or don't like. You know, your score matters to me more than what's in your bag, basically.
Jake, I wanted to ask you too, because we've talked about like Cobra, TaylorMade, Ping, Titleist, like kind of like the big five companies, if you will, as people kind of refer to them as. Are you wanting to like branch out? Are you going to start covering like any more DTC? Like I know you work with Adele, BGT,
Sub
which
70.
sub 70. Like, is there any other brands that you've kind of had your eyes on, or even maybe be able to get some of the product in hand to check it out?
I'm not opposed to any of it necessarily. That's kind of a lie actually. There's some stuff that I won't touch, just because of the way that it's sold and presented.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of stuff where they base their entire value proposition on the amount of followers that the influencer has that they gave a free set to. I'm not worried about that. That doesn't do anything for me. It does things for a lot of people, and there's a lot of eyeballs on those things, and like that's cool. That's great. I'm not knocking that equipment, but it's not something that I feel the need to touch. But yeah, I mean, like there's other companies that I played golf with Josh Haywood in March, and he told me, he's like, if you ever want me to send something down, just let me know. Problem is, like, it's kind of what we went back to earlier. I'm looking at a spreadsheet right now that is full every single day until December 20th. Like,
Nice.
I don't have, like, if Josh sent me clubs right now, I don't know when I would be able to give him content back for doing that.
Right.
So, and that's where I go back and forth. I'm like, do I need the new product stuff or not? Because out of all of that stuff, literally until December 20th, I think however many days that is, like I think there's 5 videos in there that are directly about a product. Everything else is about an equipment concept or a placeholder for a podcast post. That's pretty much it.
So
So yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it by any means, right? Like Josh is a really funny dude. He's awesome. I love playing golf with him. I hope I get to play golf with him again in that same tournament next March. But yeah, like the guys from Sub 70, that's been such an easy relationship because they're 5 minutes away from me. Like
Right.
I golf with the Sub 70 guys multiple times a week. Like we're really good friends now, so it's easy. I don't have to wait for clubs to get shipped. Like I just go over there and I can use their fitting studio that they have here and stuff like that. So like that one's a little bit different than all my other relationships just because it takes care of itself essentially. But no, I'm open to lots of things. I care a lot about how a company presents themselves, especially with social media. It might sound kind of mean, but like there's a certain type of influencer in the golf space that I really, really just don't jive with. And when I see companies start to align themselves exclusively with those types of influencers, I know that like just the way I produce content and the way I talk about stuff, we're probably not going to mesh well, which is fine. Like,
could you do what you do with an unbiased? If they were to send you a product, do you think you could, or do you think it would be hard to detach yourself from those thoughts that you have or beliefs that you have?
I would probably just decline the product. I just probably would tell them like not to send it. I mean,
like data is
people have
data,
asked me-
right? Like data is data. Like,
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and there's like, there's plenty of that product is the way it is, but there's also product that, well, the other side to this too is from a business standpoint, from a from a professional standpoint. If you take the golf out of it, there's a lot of people that aren't being honest about their relationships, and that really, really bugs me. And when I see a company have a stable of influencers that are all not honest about that relationship, that gets a little weird, right? It's like I know for a fact that those people are getting a large sum of money to talk about those clubs, which at that point becomes unbiased, and they're going to say good things about them.
Yeah, whether they like them or not.
Yeah.
Thing, right?
Yeah, and honestly, that's fine. Like, if you want to be an ambassador for something and you want to promote it and talk about it and show it, like that's fine. Like, make your money. I don't like that. Cool, right? Like that's great. And if people trust you and you've built a following of an audience that likes what you say and they think that you're promoting value to them through that company, like that's awesome. That is fantastic. But it's not. That's not the way I've ever envisioned making this professionally work. Basically, like
right.
So, you know, if one of those companies were to send me stuff, the truth is, it would probably be fine. Like, the gear is probably fine. Like, it's, you know, there's not
there's
there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of stuff that like that's a really interesting person on my phone right now. I'll tell you guys about that later.
so the reason why I asked this, Jake, is because like I said, I value your
I gotta grab
opinion.
a cable, but I'm still in the room. Hold on, sorry.
Yeah. So I would worry as well that by taking that product, it would almost make me feel like I have to give,
Yeah.
some type of positive feedback. And what if it's not there, right? And then what if it's a brand that has a very large following of people who are looking to gain knowledge, or consumers who are looking to gain knowledge about the product, that maybe don't understand it with the levels that, even I have, and then on a deeper level that you have, Bryce, and then on a even deeper level that Jake has, right? So it's like, yeah, I think I would kind of worry about that a little bit too. I
Well,
think
it's even like,
that could set you up for an attack online.
well, yeah, it's that too. And then even like, what if you, even just as simple as saying something that you didn't think would trigger, like hurt someone or trigger someone, and then they say, "Oh, well, you kind of said something shitty about me," and even though you didn't mean it that way, if they take it the wrong way, then it kind of puts you in a tough spot. You know, it's like
Yeah.
that's it's kind of not a spot you want to put yourself into to begin with. You know.
So I think, like, to sum it up,
Yeah.
if you had a belief that you didn't really align with the values of the company, it makes sense to not put the effort and work into it. So I think that can be said with many things, because, like, I'm trying to think of like specific examples, but there's plenty of, like, say, hockey players or football players who are, all about one brand, let's call it Adidas, and then their contract is up and they go to Nike, and then all of a sudden Nike is like the best company that they've ever worn and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's just easy for people to say and do, and it's all sort of, it can be driven by, obviously, money, right? So
Yeah, I mean it's funny too, like um the you know a lot of people think that I have a strong beef with Lab, and I don't. Um, I I think Lab's consumer base is super undereducated about the product that they fight really hard for on the internet. Like the fact that I can't post a video with any putter that's not a Lab and not have 3 comments that just are like, just get a Lab. It's like, well, first off, no, because not everybody will putt well with a Lab putter. Visually, confidence wise, they don't like the feel, they don't like the sound. Just like not everybody's going to putt well with a 2-on or with a Scotty or with whatever, right? Like that's just the fact of clubs. Um, I talked to Sam from Lab the other day because like we finally connected, and I tell people all the time, I think that Sam Han from Lab is one of the most passionate people in our space, like in the golf equipment space.
yeah,
I
I've
think that
chatted with Sam. He gives off that vibe.
Yeah, I think that Sam genuinely believes that his product makes people play better golf, and that he is so passionate about that statement that he will kind of die on that hill. And if he wasn't like that, I would be more worried. Like,
Yeah.
If he wasn't like that, then there would be no belief in that product. And it's one of those things of like, I have a Lab DF3 that the tour rep built for me with a BGT in it. I don't hate it by any means. It's not my feel because the head is so, like the way the putter is designed, the head takes control of the whole stroke, right? I don't like that because I like all the feel to be in my hands. That's nothing bad about the putter, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, but when I have, uh, what's the right way to say this? When I get other influencers, and I don't call myself an influencer, and I want to talk about that in a second too, but when I get influencers to DM me and be like, oh, you have to try it, like you didn't get a good shot, and it's somebody who got the putter sent to them for free and makes financial, like, benefit out of talking about it, and they're using their lab to shoot 98, like, okay, like I'm really happy that you enjoy it. I'm so thrilled for you that you are excited to go play golf because you have your lab putter. I think that's awesome. That doesn't change my thoughts on it whatsoever, and I don't think that those people are in a state to tell me that. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those weird things. Like, people are like, oh, you just don't like people that are bad at golf. I'm like, well, no, there's different levels of being bad at golf. I know guys that shoot 68 that say they're bad at golf, right? Like, I know guys that shoot 98 that say they're fantastic at golf, and both people are correct in that statement, because it's a matter of where you're at with your golf, where you're going with your golf, and what makes you happy when you golf. I don't care.
Well, it just goes right back to what I say about the internet in general: is you almost never win. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you never win. There's always going to be someone or many people on the opposite side of what you're saying. Like
You
you'll
know how you
never
can win? Buy a Lowy, man. Nobody hates Tyler Lowy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Well,
nobody.
that's how I feel about my Toulons.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly,
Like, nobody
right?
hates
Like,
Sean.
who hates Sean Toulon? Probably
Yeah.
no one.
Yeah,
Like,
there's not
Xander
many
Schauffele's
people.
still rolling it. It's got to work, right? But, like,
Yeah. Oh, that putter's over there right now. It's right there.
I saw a photo of him, like, the President's Cup today, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's still there. Good for him,
Oh,
man.
dude, that thing's sick.
It's obviously, it's rolling
it's
it pretty
really
good
cool.
right now. But, yeah, go buy
Yeah,
a Lowy.
I gotta
Might take
say,
you a
though,
year
like,
to
this
get
thing-
it, but
I gotta say, this thing's pretty sick though. The small batch that just came out, look at that. Thing's freaking awesome. Sick.
yeah. Ooh, I like
It's
the
like
bottom
it's like
of
a
that.
Cam. They can't say this because of legal stuff. I can say it. It's basically Cameron Smith's putter.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so it's
His-
freaking.
His black Scotty. Like the
Yeah,
same.
it's basically the
like-
exact same shape with the same neck as Cam's putter.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. Anyhow, but then like, so like you talk about the influencer thing, right? Like, this has been a tricky subject for me lately because, from a growth standpoint and from a professional standpoint, which I think a lot of people forget that, like there's also a business side to Made for the Range, right? Like there's a small business side to what I do. There's a small business side to what you guys do. Like, when you want to do this the right way and with any sort of growth state possible, like there has to be a business side to it. So for me, the one thing that I think Bryce, you actually said this to me once, and other people have DM'd me and said the same thing.
If it was
they'll
something
ask me
smart, then I probably
questions.
said it.
Yeah. Well, they'll ask me a question, or they'll say like, why do you never compare this thing to this thing? And it's like, because how I compare those two things is not going to apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. I mean, there's no reason for me to compare two brands and declare one better than the other, because I don't benefit from that. The consumer doesn't benefit from that, because if I say GT3 is better than QI10, well, what about the 100,000 people that go get fit and they work better with the QI10? It's like, that means nothing coming from me. So
yeah, I've always kind of
I've
wondered
told-
that. I've always thought that.
Yeah.
I've always thought like there's a fitting in place for a reason, right? Sorry, Jake, I don't mean to cut you off. It's just there's a fitting in place for a reason. So like all three of us are likely going to get fit into something different.
Correct. And it doesn't. The other thing too, I think people have a big misunderstanding about fitting is like, if you work with the right kind of player, and this is not a skill thing, it's more of a mentality thing. Like, I do this all the time at my club. Okay, so I actually have a guy right now at our club. He'll shoot like low 80s, but he plays a 30, maybe 35-yard slice off the tee, like purposely, because he just
Whoa,
gave up. and
Bryce,
he's
this
like,
is
"That's all I
this
got."
is a family podcast here. What do we got going on?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry for embarrassing you both with my shredded body.
I actually
Yeah.
think in the clip that I take, nobody saw it, so we're
Yeah,
good.
That's good.
If somebody's
Ah,
listening to us right now, they're like, "What
Yeah.
is going on?"
none
I
of
just
those
took
people
my sweater
saw-
off and
in
did a
this
little bit.
None
video
of those
right
people
now.
saw the freaking ladder abs that are on Bryce.
Yeah,
right
exactly. You get great
Yeah.
cheese on these things.
Yeah,
Damn.
damn.
But yeah, like you talk about fitting, Mac, and this guy, he plays a 35-yard slice off the tee on purpose, because he just gave up. He's like, okay, that's just what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to aim for that. The other day, I finally played with him again, and I actually I actually brought him a driver, and I was like, here. And sure enough, his 30-yard slice that was a driver that was fit by somebody at a retail store who said, go get lessons, I beat by about 25 yards, and it was like a 10-yard cut.
Okay, we
that he
can
could
we can
play.
work with that. Yeah.
It's like, but it wasn't hard. It was,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those things of like, look, there needs to be a point with people of going to get fit is one thing, going to get fit the right way is a completely other thing. But then also, like, you got to do some stuff that maybe isn't within the rules of fitting, right? Like, this guy swings at probably, I don't know, 90, 95, right? Older dude, doesn't hit the ball very far, whatever. I put him in an extra stiff golf shaft for a very specific reason, and it worked. Would I have done that with everybody? No. Do I have the benefit that I've played with this guy 6 or 7 times, and I finally, like, he was on my team when I played with him last, so I got fed up, and I was like, here, just hit this. Like, cool. And it worked. And he was like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And those are my cool moments. But if I align myself with one specific brand, I don't have the opportunity to do that.
Right.
Right. Like, I can't go grab from my stable of stuff and say here, right? Like, I have to go like, okay, well, can I make this work? And sometimes the answer is yeah. Like, actually, most of the time, if somebody's really dedicated to something, I can help you make that thing work with changes. But it's like, I love the fact that I can just go grab this myriad of stuff and help people with it. It's fun, and that's I try to do that through the internet as much as I can.
Another thing too, when you're saying, because I know we kind of got onto this topic by saying, why don't you compare this to this? It's not even just performance. It's like, what if you love the look of something? It looks great to you.
Yeah.
Feels great to you, and I look at it and hit it, and I say, this is brutal. I can't stand this. Like,
Yeah.
that's one thing right there where you can't compare. I mean, it is kind of comparing apples to
1000%.
apples, especially with some brands of certain models that because most brands have like the players, the game improvement, whatever.
Yeah,
It's like
they do
apples to
max
apples,
forgiveness,
but
standard, low spin. Yeah.
but they don't look the same. They don't perform the same. So there's so many variables, and it's so hard to. It's hard to compare apples to apples in that aspect.
Yeah, it just, to me, the only way to compare something apples to apples is for the individual player to do it themselves. Because you're absolutely right. Like, putters is a huge one, right? If you get fit for a putter that is technically like accurate for your stroke, but you hate the way it looks and feels, you're not going to putt good.
Yeah.
But if you fall in love with something the way it looks and feels, you have a better chance of making that putter work, even if it's not technically the fit. And I actually feel that way about more and more and more clubs. I also think that there's a lot of misunderstandings and happen because of the internet for things of like a little bit of ego, just a little bit of technical misinformation, like loft jacking, or like draw bias drivers, or when you talk about like forgiving wedges. I think there's way too many people. This is a perfect example. Why are so many people playing Vokies? Why are there people playing TaylorMade stealth irons and Vokies? Like, it doesn't it doesn't make sense. There are forgiving wedges that are made to help you play better golf, so that you don't have to be worried about flop shots and bunkers, and like it just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, but everybody's obsessed that you have to play this wedge, you have to play a specialty wedge, you have to play a wedge, like that's a perfect example of something that's like so misunderstood. It's crazy. But
I think it's more ego than most things.
I think people love brands, though. I think people like genuinely fall in love with the concept of a brand.
Well, that
right?
too.
Yeah.
But I think ego is a big thing. I mean, I think we all fall victim to it at some point, whether it's a little bit or a lot of it. But I think that's.
I think what you mentioned though, Jake, about like about putting and like you can kind of adapt to something if you really, really like the way it looks at address. You feel confident over it. I feel like I don't know how far. Like I don't know what the point of cutoff is going to be, but I think maybe a 20-yard wedge shot and inside that is really like you have to be confident standing over the wedge looking at the ball.
Yeah.
And that probably translates to 280 yards back at the tee as well. But like, I think for me personally, like some wedges just don't look right. They might be like the offset's off or whatever it is, bounce. You can see it when you're like at address. And I think it can like really lead to really inconsistent shots. It's probably the math is probably the same from everywhere.
It's the same. I had this conversation with Jake about my forehand. Like I used to have no problem with it, and now all I see is this massive offset, and I struggle to hit it now all of a sudden. And I had no issues with it for the first 5 years I've owned it.
Yeah.
And now I just can't hit it for some reason. It's just such a mental warfare with me now.
Yeah, I've been that way about my wedges. Like, I just posted a video show the new Wilson wedges, and I really like them. But like, you know, when I put up my 2024 gamer what's in the bag of like what I've actually played all year this year, it was Mizuno T24s, and I will be like, it was 100% because of how they look when I set it down. Like the Callaway Opus stuff has performed incredibly well. That stuff spins like crazy, and it looks great. The Wilson's EM stuff looks fantastic. Like, was really close to beating out T24 for me because of how it looks, and they play phenomenally. It's the same thing. Vokies don't look bad. The ping stuff I think is a super underrated wedge, but like I fell in love. I fell in love so much actually with how the Wilson with the Mizuno T24s. So they sent me 3 of them. They sent me a 60, 56, and a 50, and I bought 2 backup 60 degrees because Mizuno is discontinuing the raw finish. So I bought 2 more to have as backups because I don't want to let it go. And it's like, when you find that thing, 3-woods are another really popular thing. Like, if somebody likes their 3-wood, it is impossible to get that person to change their 3-wood. That's why you see guys like Henrik Stenson with the like old steelheads.
The Octane.
Or you see guys like still using, you know, M2 fairway woods. It's like when somebody likes a 3-wood, it's so hard to get that person to change because 3-wood is the one club in the bag that I think has the best understanding of that club needs to do this job. And if it does it, you keep it forever because there's no reason that something else needs to do the job that thing is already doing. And if I could get people to have that mentality for the rest of their bag, that would be sick, right? Like, for some reason, everybody agrees that with a fairway wood, if it does the thing, you don't touch it. And if it doesn't do the thing, you get a new one. But then, like, everything else just gets muddied. And it's like marketing and flashiness and this and fittings cost money. And like, I'm like, wait, but we all agree on that. So
we do, yeah. I'm thinking
can we
about
just say that 13 more times, right? Like,
I'm thinking about Mac. He's playing that like Adams that he's had for 14 years or whatever, right? He's just got it.
The Tour Exotics,
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. The Tour
5-wood?
Exotic. Yeah, exactly, right? So
Oblong shaft.
I think everybody believes in that. I think everybody pretty much believes in that though. You gotta have a lot of confidence in the shot too, right? So I'm kind of there right now. Like, I haven't changed my 3-wood in 5 years. I like it. I think I'll probably stay with it, but
I got 3 fairway woods this year. A 3-wood, a 5-wood, and a 7-wood. Well, I have a mini driver. It's not a 3-wood, I guess, technically. But like, those 3 things, it's a Mizuno ST Max 7-wood, a Wilson Dynapower 5-wood, and my TaylorMade mini driver. On rotation, depending on where I'm playing, I don't know when those clubs are going to get kicked out. Genuinely. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of awesome fairway woods next year, and that's great. But if those 3 clubs continue to do the exact same thing they're doing right now for the next decade, that's chill with me, right? Like, I'm all in on those. And this is the first year I've played a single fairway wood in like 4 years. I gave up on fairway woods completely, and then this year I found an entire top end, and I fell in love. Cool.
all right, boys. Do we like that? We're a little over an hour. Hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We good with that?
2.5 hours longer, I'm sure.
So
Yeah, I was gonna say,
we'll obviously have our like little placement piece with Full Wedge, but I did just want to talk about it quickly. Jake, I know you have some Full Wedge gear, but man, I played at the Full Wedge Classic the other day. It's the best tournament. It's the best tournament out there. So if anybody,
That's cool. It looked like you were busy doing a lot of content stuff too.
Yeah, I was doing like drone and like social with so over the next month or so on the Full Wedge Classic page. I stayed behind the camera for this, so but yeah, there'll be a bunch of like videos and stuff coming out with teams that are there, players that are there, some of the people behind Full Wedge, just to kind of get to know them, some of the stuff that they like in the brand, some of the things that they look forward to at that tournament, because it's one of them. It's like the most fun tournament I've ever played in. Everybody has incredible feedback. Like, one of the things that I have to clean it up a little bit, but essentially like a what's in the bag when you go there. So you get like a polo or a crew neck, you get a hat, you get like a Yeti.
What's in the goodie bag?
Yeah, exactly. Like you get like a bunch of products that come with it. Plus you get to play a great golf course. Usually you get like a handful of tees and some balls and stuff like that too, but you're getting like a couple $100 worth of products too. And they have some great prizes after and great prizes there. So if you're interested, they're doing at least 3 next year. If anybody's interested, if you're listening to the pod still with us 110 minutes later, 70 minutes later, not 110 minutes later, 70 minutes later. Sorry. But, if you're listening to us at this point, go over, and in case I forget to link it, it's Full Wedge Classic at Full Wedge Classic, I believe, over on Instagram. Go check it out. You'll enjoy the tournament if you're in this area. If you're not, we had somebody that came out from Nova Scotia and he just checked it out. A friend of ours that was here, he played with us, and like he wants to move some of his work trips around being able to play next year, which is pretty cool. So check it out.
That's sweet.
Really fun tournaments. We had a blast. And they'll be kind of in if you're listening, they'll be in like the GTA area. So anybody who's checking us out from that area, definitely go check it out. All right, boys.
Maybe I gotta align my podcast rounds.
Yeah, I'll be trying to make it to one next year for sure.
Yeah. We'll put in a couple teams. I like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I can get myself up to the GTA area.
Yeah, it's not that bad, not that far. 8 hours or so. I got to come down and see you, man. I like Chicago. I got to get back there. Always a good excuse to watch Connor Bedard too. So hockey season starting up, so why not?
I'm so excited.
All right, boys. Until next time, let's not wait as long.
Yes, let's not.
All right, boys.
All right. See you, gents.
He's out in my ball in the course, so I tee up. I lose the ball and I re-up. I miss a fairway, I probably end up in the ocean or maybe the beach. And I'm on a par 5 and I'm finna go reach it. Second was blind, I ain't see it. Feel like it might be an albatross working.